In today's show, we discuss, is mandatory paternity testing a good idea?
And now, the TNT Talk Show, daring to go where other podcasts fear to tread.
Hello, I'm Tony Fasulo, and I share the stage with my esteemed friend and colleague, Tayo Boya. Tayo, hello, my friend, once again. I hope you're keeping safe and well.
What the hell, Tony? What you gonna do, eh? Lucky ones die first is what I always say.
Come on. Without duress, without complaint,
This
without
is
grumbling.
duress.
No, without grumbling. Come on.
Hello,
Say
audience.
hi to our Harry.
Yeah. Listen. I have a bone to pick with you, and it's got to be a public picking of the bone.
Oh,
In our last episode, you poo-pooed something I said, and I was pretty sure that your poo-pooing was incorrect. So I looked it up, and I can't find your point of view as being validated. So I'm going to have to ask you to pony up with your evidence.
and could you elaborate as to what my point
I would
was?
love to. Of course, I have to remember what the hell I'm talking about. And all I remember is this because I prepared that little speech, but what is connected to and what you said and that annoyed me so much last time, I I'm afraid I don't remember. We'll bring it up again, but I don't know. I don't remember.
So you're chastising me for something you don't. What are you chastising me for?
No, but I prepared this little chastising speech, so I knew for certain. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't do it now, but aha! Gotcha!
Oh, here we
Yes.
go. Here we go.
You said you can't take your $5,000 from New York and go and spend it anywhere else. That's what you told me in our last episode.
That's right. That's information I had.
Nope.
So the Visa card is not locked to. You're telling me that it's not locked to.
You can only spend it. You can only spend it to buy certain things. You can't spend it everywhere on anything.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be New York.
I thought this is what the. Well, I've got to find that article now. This is what the. Got rid of it now. The article was saying to me, or implying that the card was linked to certain outlets in New York, so you could spend it on food. But what I'm thinking now, let's say, argument's sake, it was a Macy's, right?
Yeah.
But that means you could go to any Macy's.
Any Macy's anywhere.
That's the thing. Well, the idea was that it's supposed to be in New York, so that you're not supposed to then be accepted in a Macy's in Las Vegas or California.
I'm sorry to say that's not what
enforcing it.
I'm sorry to say that's not what I've got. So I'm actually got a couple of links for you. So from the government, by the way, this is directly from the, I believe, New York State government. So I've sent one to you already, and I'll send you the other because it's not really pertinent to this particular show. I'll send you the other one afterwards. But yeah, I've got two government type links. Have a look at it. No,
the title of that is something completely different.
The title.
Yeah, you've sent me something about COVID-19.
Yeah, it's I believe that how they go around it from giving the money to the migrants is through this particular scheme that they started off. There's this scheme and another one which is not in work. You can't work, and one of the conditions is you are an illegal. Not I don't call it illegal. Undocumented worker, I think they call them. You are an undocumented migrant or undocumented worker, so you're entitled to blah blah blah. So that's how they got around it. It was for things that were apparently existed already, and they just, jury rigged it.
Interesting, because the implication was that money could only be spent in the state of New York, so that they
just show us the link. That's all. Show me
I'll have to find it. But
Yes,
anyway,
please.
that's from a previous topic. Let's come back to
Yeah,
this
but
one.
I hated because I knew that I know what's he talking about, but I had no proof. When you say you prove it, then I can't.
Ah, I wish I'd kept the link now, but that's a while ago. But I'll have to go through my history, see if I can find it. Although I
Yes.
do clear my history out, so that's going to be a challenge. Anyway, let's move on with today's show because our audience are really keen on knowing what we're going to talk about. But before we even begin, I must congratulate our audience and our listeners out there who comment and like our posts on whatever platform they consume our content on. Keep that coming in, folks. Please keep doing that. And if you have any suggestions for topics that you'd like to hear, then by all means recommend them, whatever platform you happen to be on, or even better, try and join us on TNT Talkers, which is the Facebook group that Tayo is on religiously, and he's on every single day without fail at the minute. So if you want to have an angst with us or put a genuine comment, please do it on there on the TNT Talkers Facebook group. It is an open group, so anybody can join. Right, enough of that. Enough of promotion. Let's get on with the topic of today. And the topic, which is one that you picked, Tayo, is mandatory paternity testing a good idea? Do you want to kick things off as to why you first chose this topic and why you may think it's a good idea?
I chose the topic because I hate stupidity, I hate hypocrisy, and I hate deceit. Viscerally hate, not just say so or for virtue signaling or anything. I really hate these three things. And when a group of women got together to oppose a proposed law, which is passing through, I don't know if it's through a state Senate or Congress or through the federal Senate or Congress, but there's a bill that is going through the process, which seeks to impose mandatory paternity tests on every single child born in that jurisdiction. Like I said, I don't know if it's I can't remember whether it's for a state or for America. I think it's for a state, to be honest.
Is this when it's legally the birth certificate is
precisely
registered?
You're not going to be able to register the birth unless there's a paternity test. No, actually, that sorry. No, let me roll that back. No man can sign as the father unless there's been a paternity test.
Oh,
so the mother obviously can get, because we all know, that's your child. But the father can't say I'm the father unless there's been a paternity test. This is what the bill mandates or will mandate.
And the reason for this law is what? Our audience may be thinking that.
Because a lot of men are horrified to find out that the child that they've been paying for is not theirs.
When you say paying for, are
alimony,
you talking
sorry, not alimony. What's the other one?
Marriage, you're not. You're talking people who have separated.
People who have separated, right. And then the lawyers find some kind of loophole, because it's not easy to actually get a paternity test that is going to be accepted by court, especially family court, which is, I'm sorry to say, in America is so very firmly on the woman's side. It's not easy to get that evidence in front of the judge. So, but on occasions when it has been possible, very often, a third of the time, 30%, slightly less than a third of the time, it's not that man's child.
Is this across the whole population, or is it a particular demographic? What?
Well, it's actually a demographic of divorce, so it's slightly. It's a smaller demographic than the general population.
Yeah.
Because happily married couples don't do paternity tests. What for? Yeah. It's only when it comes to, hey, you got to pony up X amount every month And then the chap says, "Well, just in case, is that actually mine?" Then obviously there
But
are.
surely there must be some suspicion. So, the husband has got brown eyes, black hair, and the child comes out with blonde eyes, blue eyes, and blonde
Hmm.
hair. And then clearly, they've got a case there. But what would give them the inclination to think maybe the child isn't mine? Or is it just so that they can get away without paying,
I think
child
there
maintenance?
are TV shows where sort of Jerry Springer like shows. You remember old
Oh,
Jerry
yeah.
Springer? I don't even know if he's still doing that show or not. I have
No,
no
no, he
idea.
passed away. He passed away quite a while ago now.
Well, that shows you how current I keep up with the news. Then, yes, it's
Indeed. But there've been
Jerry
others that have spawned. Yeah, sure, sure.
Jerry Springer type shows, which are highly controversial. Well, I don't know. Just go sort of look lowest common denominator. Sort of like
It's gutter telly, I'm afraid.
gutter. Thank you, fantastic expression, gutter telly. And they get these couples on, and they say, what brings them on? I have no idea whether it's the lure of money
Yeah,
or
of course it's the
publicity
money. Of course it's the
or
money
whatever it is.
and publicity and both. Yeah, yeah.
And they're arguing, and then they say, well, that's not actually. Is that my child? And they do the paternity test, and she's swearing blind. No, there's never been anyone else. No, no, it's yours. There's no need. Why are you doing this to me? Blah blah blah. And then, yeah, it's negative. He's not the father. Oh, then it must have been the other guy. Oh,
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 but
okay.
you're great because you can pay.
Well, precisely,
Hmm.
precisely. And the I think a lot of people don't understand. Now, I say this because I think I've worked it out that women women in a funny sort of way, they're not lying when they say something that turns out to be false.
What you
In
mean?
a
They
way.
just weren't aware that who they
No,
slept with? They don't know who the father is?
no. I believe that a woman's feelings are her reality. The way she feels is for her what actually is.
Yeah, that's actually quite
So
a good point. Yes.
so when she said if she feels that she wasn't cheating, they missed some reason. For some reason, they were quarreling. They had a timeout. She was on a break. For whatever reason, she doesn't feel that was cheating. So when she says I didn't cheat, she's not actually lying. From her point of view, it's not a lie. She genuinely feels that.
You're
Now,
now you're now not going to quote Ross from Friends, the Friends series, are you?
no, I
Where
don't
he
think.
said, um, "I wasn't having an affair. We were on a break."
I actually remember
Yes.
that episode.
Luck.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm not going to quote him. No, I'm not going to quote
No.
him. But I'm just saying that I suppose this is why they were the segment of society that first said that a trans man is a man and trans woman is a woman, because it's just, well, if you feel that way, then it's true. But we men, we counter with like, hey, whoa, 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 we deal with facts and evidence. That's not the case, and that's where the clash, the constant disagreement, if you like, comes in. So paternity fraud, where a woman is absolutely aware that the child may not be the man's offspring, but she's just kind of hoping that, because like you said, he can afford it and he's the best one. That she hopes that she'll get away with it. But the thing is, she 4 in 1 chance, whatever. What, four different. I mean, one particular lady had 4 different kids from 4 different fathers. So each one I came up and
That's
said,
not uncommon, unfortunately.
yeah, but the clip was that each one was intensely disappointed because each one thought, oh, those are my kids. Yay, I've got 4 kids. Nope.
Oh,
So that was, yeah. Anyway, so you've got this caucus, I think they call them, is a caucus, which is like a political bloc or something being formed to oppose mandatory
to
maternity.
oppose it.
Yeah, the women don't want it.
Are you sure that this group of women who are opposing this, because I'm
Hmm.
trying to think of I mean, if a woman knows for sure that the child is not the biological child of the person she is claiming to be the father, then
Hmm.
of course she's going to object it because that's an underhand behavior, doesn't want to confront or reveal to the partner she's with that the child is not really theirs. Hence, they don't want this mandatory DNA test. But are you sure it's not the solicitors and lawyers who are also funding this group of women? Because let's be honest, they they would lose a lot of money if all cases of paternity fraud or disputes between couples as to who the biological father is stop going to court because it's all sorted out birth, then they're going to lose a lot of money. So it's not just the women who may be pushing this agenda and saying, whoa, we don't want this mandatory paternity. There could be bigger companies behind the scenes funding them and encouraging them
Yeah.
because they could lose out should it get signed into law.
No, quite the opposite. When we get to whether I support this notion or not, it gets complicated. And one of the reasons it's complicated is because if you have to test everyone who every birth, every child, I beg your pardon, at childbirth, it's quite a hefty sum of money. Apparently, it costs $200 for each test.
Okay, but if you're getting more numbers through the doors, which you will, that price will come down. So it will become more
This
affordable.
is America you're talking about.
Well, still,
So,
still.
well, if a box of bolts,
Oh, yeah, okay.
if
I
a
get your
bag of
point. It is
bolts
America. Yeah, you're right.
costs
Yeah, you're right.
$90,000,
Yeah. You want it, it goes up. No, I get it. If this, it's what's it called? Thing and demand. What is it? It's
what? You say Klingon demand?
no, no, no. What is it? What's the
What is a
term?
Klingon
It's
demand?
escaped me.
What?
The term
Oh, what? Supply and demand.
supply and demand. There you go. Of course it is. So if supply is 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 just finite because there's so many centers that could do
Mm.
it, but the demand is high, then clearly the price is going to go up. So yeah, if the demand is going to be higher, which it will, they're not necessarily going to put out more testing places, or they might have to do some, of course.
No,
The demand will be high and the price will be high.
exactly. They'll fund someone's election run. That person will win, and that person knows them a favor, and the necessary laws will be drawn up.
I mean,
That's how they do business. Capitalism, American style.
thinking about this, I mean, I've got no dog in this fight, clearly. Um,
Well, we
but
hope. I mean,
we
we start hearing stories about, hey,
yeah,
Tony.
it's true, true. I mean, I have to say, I've got two sons, but they do look like me.
Yeah.
So there's that. It's I can see the cases where there's doubt, where you think mannerism, a child's growing up. Hang on, that child does do looks slightly different. There's no resemblance here, and there's that doubt side of it. So I get that. So as far as I can see, the testing, if it becomes law, is actually a good thing from my point of view.
Hmm.
But now
I
you're
thought
going to throw
so.
different. Okay,
I
challenge why?
first of all think, well, women are hypocrites. If they are as pure as the driven snow as they claim to be, why aren't they on board with mandatory paternity tests? I mean, obviously, they want to be able to get away with saddling the wrong party with someone else's kid, which is crapulous, to be honest. However, and rather than just, it's not that easy. For example, the ifs, whens, buts, and howsoever's. First of all, some women have said if the husband, spouse, partner, whatever they want to call it, gets a paternity test, they will divorce the
The husband.
or break the relationship. Yes,
Okay.
because that would be a giant violation of trust. What they're saying is, you don't trust me, as a massive embarrassment to the woman. That's what they're claiming. There's an actual video clip, a woman telling her husband, if you get that test, I am going to divorce you. They were married, and she was not. I'm
That
going to.
to me sounds like they're hiding something.
Well, there
Because
might not be.
someone,
That's
if
the problem.
someone is crying too loudly,
Mm, mm,
then you add more attention as to why they're crying out too loudly. If they went,
mm.
well, I wouldn't like it because you're almost not trusting me, but I can see your point of view, you'd think, okay, she's not worried about it. But if she's so vociferous, no, 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 I don't want this to come in because she's hiding something.
Well,
Normally,
she might not be. This is the
no, I know
problem.
she might not be, but
So what
why would you
happens?
be that vociferous? What are you
Well,
get? What?
because she genuinely feels insulted. Because she genuinely feels. Remember, I said that how a woman feels is her reality. So if she feels genuinely insulted, she's insulted. It's like, what do you mean?
But that
I've
doesn't
been.
make it real.
No, it doesn't. Well, that's because you and I are men, so we know that. But I'm just trying to say that there's this. There are
Element.
instances, there's elements. Thank you very much, of women who say no, to heck with that. I don't want that. So the counter argument is, well, when it's mandatory, you can't make that claim because it's mandatory. Everyone goes through it. No one is getting
Yes,
picked on.
true,
See?
true.
So there's that on the flip side. So, well, it's mandatory. What are you upset about? Everybody's got to do that. But some women are saying they counter with, yeah, well, it's an invasion of privacy.
Oh, come on.
All
Are
right.
they hearing themselves? That sounds a bit nonsense. Invasion of privacy for whom? For
uh,
whom?
for, get this, for the child. Because the child can't grant consent.
But the child would like to know, I would have thought,
Ah,
who their
that's,
biological parents are, would they
well,
not?
see, now that's on the other side. This is what I mean by it's complicated. It's on this side and on that side. Yeah. And then there are things that we do to children anyway where we don't get their consent.
We don't get their consent when we give them
The snip,
inoculations.
like inoculations. What about the snip?
The snip, yeah, for some faiths, yeah.
Yeah.
So because you as the legal, well, the guardian, let's say parent, but
You can
legal
give
guardian,
consent.
yeah, you have, it's your obligation as a
Precisely.
parent
Mm.
to give, to make the best choices for the child that's not detrimental to the child. So if a child is going to put their hand in a flame, you as the parent would forcibly take them away because you
And it's
know
your
better.
responsibility.
It's a responsibility element.
Like, can have
So
safeguarding issues in the UK if you don't.
yeah, indeed. So you've got to do what's in the best interest of the child. And I've never I've never heard of any story, but obviously mine's not an absolute. I've not heard all cases, of course, but I've never heard of a child who's growing up thinking, nah, I don't care who my parents are. They always want to know.
Mm.
So why not do this at birth? So you've established that 100%.
Well, that is what some people are saying, that actually the child has a right to know their true parents. There's an actual right to know who the parents are, and to ensure that if you see, because if this comes into law and is adopted across all the states, or at least many states, then the birth certificate really means something. The names on the birth certificate are your parents. End of story. No ifs, no whens, no buts, nothing. And
You see,
there's
how does it get how okay. Question, I'm going to throw in a spanner here.
hmm,
What would it be if for instance someone had a surrogate child or
hmm.
surrogate, I mean, you see, in scenarios like that, who's the biological mother in that instance? I know we said that the mother can sign the birth certificate.
The biological mother is the surrogate, is the whoever carried the baby. That's the biological mother.
Hmm,
That's the genetic material, isn't it?
okay. So her name would have to be on the birth certificate because sometimes that's not the case.
Especially if the surrogate wants her privacy.
Privacy, yeah.
That's a very good point. I really don't know what the situation is. I suppose you'd have to say that the absolute case rules. Whose DNA is that? That's all
Wow.
we care about. And then, like you said, that's a right to know. So I have a right to know. But I think
Do you have a right to know?
a child growing up, finding out that he had a surrogate, that somehow isn't that's my mother. Do you know, I don't know.
Mm.
Mentally, it was because my mom had a medical problem. So this little bit came from someone else, but that's nothing to do with it. If you see
This is
what
my
I mean,
mother. Yeah, I
this
know.
is my mother. So
But
I think in that case, I don't think so. But where it gets interesting is what about a sperm donor?
well, indeed.
And how about some of these states, states in America apparently, where you've got to be really careful because you can be found and sued for child support.
Sorry? As a
Sperm donor
sperm donor.
as a sperm donor. Some states in America, if it wasn't done properly and every I was dotted, every T, people have been found and they've been sued
How
for
is it? How is it
you,
their fault? Surely the sperm bank
yeah, you're not supposed to even keep.
of
Oh
of
yeah, you keep records
funds
or something. But
of the funds of the sperm, they're the ones at fault if it's not done properly. Why would
mm,
the individual who made the contribution be liable? That doesn't make sense.
he is the biological father.
He is the biological father, but clearly the sperm bank
Well, all I'll
shouldn't
say is
be.
a really bad ROI. Yeah, because I think they get paid $25 per donation,
Wow.
and then somebody comes and stiffs you for $800 a month for the next 18 years. The ROI is terrible, man.
Uh-huh. Not for
Those,
just one child. Imagine if it was used because you're supposed to only have.
that's when you skip out to Mexico, pal.
Yeah. You're supposed to only have one sperm donor that is used for one family. You can't then
Mm.
have the sperm donor donate into several families.
Apart from that guy
However,
in Spain,
yeah, there was a case though, wasn't there, that it was something
180
was
something kids or something in the end, and he has
oh
something tremendous number
ridiculous.
of. So he started a blooming nation, it's like Father Abraham.
Yes, he could have done. Oh dear me. That was
Not to mention the case of accidental incest.
oh
They
yeah, how
wouldn't they
would
wouldn't
that?
know.
No,
You
you
wouldn't
wouldn't
know.
know. You wouldn't know. You'd only know if you're struggling to conceive, or if you did conceive, there was some abnormalities and you just couldn't
Mm.
put two and two together, have a DNA test, which doesn't happen. Doesn't it happen when you do these um ancestry sort of tests to
Yeah.
find out your background? They're DNA tests, so couldn't they be found and discovered?
I don't think they're looking for paternity and things like that. Just looking
No,
for
no, but they do look for DNA and where you come from. But I
yeah,
don't know
I
how
don't think that would
close that
be
would be.
no, I don't think that would work in this case.
Okay.
That would be the problem.
I'm not, I don't know how much detail they divulge or
So we've
show.
got the kid has a right to know.
Do they? Okay, that was my point. And obviously, you answering a different question, but does the kid have a right? Where does that say the kid has a right to know? Because
Because
if
because
argument's sake,
mhm,
even
mhm,
now,
mhm,
you've got many birth certificates with just the mother's name on.
mhm.
So, but the child grows up into adulthood and often than not chases the mother for an answer who the father is. But the mother does not want to reveal who the father.
She might not know. It might have been a drunken night
Well,
somewhere.
possibly, but
Generally doesn't know.
the child can say it's my right to know. But where is it written that it's the right of the child to know who their biological parents are?
Well, I'm not able to say. I've just heard it said that the child has a right to know. Maybe it's a proposition, not right now a legal fact. Maybe the statute running through the process, the legal process, maybe that will make it. Maybe that's what it's going to depend on. It's going to say every child has a right to know its true parents. Ergo, manage we mandate paternity test. By the way, it's paternity test, so nothing to do about the mother. So
No.
that surrogate mother thing wouldn't be a problem. It's really to protect the
Right. So it's not both biological. So you could have a surrogate mother and then put down, yeah, okay. So that you're right, that would evade that. So it is only for the father, the
mm.
paternity test.
Except when it comes to sperm donorship.
To what, sorry?
Sperm donorship.
Ah, right.
Then I don't know. How do you know who the father is? So that's a nice little point there, to be honest.
Mm.
Anyway, there's also the consideration that the same video I was watching, the gentleman said, by the way, the true father has a right to know he has a child,
Well,
which I agree with.
a right to know again, or does he just need to know because he has obligations?
Well, it doesn't. It's not so much he needs to know, but he might not want to have any. He'll not want to do anything about it, but he might.
Mm.
So it's his child. I mean, the point is, it's his child.
Yeah, but how many cases of guys as well finding out a woman has got pregnant and then doing a runner? That happens a lot too because they get cold feet. They don't want to, the responsibility, and they leave the mum to become a single mum. That happens a lot now.
Mm-hmm.
So this
Yeah,
is this is just
you can't paint everyone for the bad eggs.
no,
They
indeed.
they, they run they do a runner, but other men, quite a lot of them apparently would. Oh, that's my kid. I don't want to be involved.
I mean, there's a bond there. How can you? I don't understand. I mean, this is me from my point of view. If you know that that's your flesh and blood, how can you just turn away and just wash your hands of the responsibility? That
Because
doesn't
they
mean.
themselves didn't have a father. The fatherlessness in America is off the charts. It's off the charts, and it's going
Why is
generations
that?
now.
Why is that?
Well, I can't speak. I mean, first of all, I'm not American. I don't live in America. I've never been to America, but as you know, I follow American culture quite closely. As far as I can tell, I can only speak on behalf of what I know and what not know, what I believe from watching all these things. Is that, and I can say this because of my skin color, is that Black American women are harridans. They're god awful human beings. Nobody wanted anything to do with any of them. I mean, what for? They're just horrible people. They're loud, they're brash, they're overly masculine. They're a palaver. So as far as the black men hanging around with black women, it's perfectly understandable that they do what. Sorry, it's a little bit crude. What it's called in manosphere, pump and dump. But why they can't snip before they do that or whatever, or take other precautions,
Precautions, yeah.
I have zero idea.
Yeah, that's the thing. Why not take precautions? You're protecting your manhood and also from potential illnesses, which we won't go
Absolutely,
down.
absolutely, yes,
But
absolutely.
also the risk is too big. I mean, I
Well,
know
that's why
in
they
the heat
dash,
of
isn't it?
passion, things are forgotten, but really?
Well, really, in the heat of passion, ever since I was a small boy, I never got that passionate because my mother would kill me, would have killed me if anything had gone wrong. So
Oh,
I never got to the point where I was like, yeah, I'd be like, nah, sis, nah, jog on. Yeah, have you met my mom? She's a freaking battle axe, man. No.
oh dear. So I mean, okay, let's let's continue this because the point is, if this parental test,
Mm,
actually, you know what I said earlier?
mm,
I said, could it be that couples that are, well, women in particular, are saying we don't want this to be mandatory, we don't want this to be law,
mm,
are hiding something, And I said, oh, could it be that some lawyers are sponsoring them because they might lose money? When in fact, I'm mistaken, because think about it. If this becomes mandatory, they still will have a lot of work, because there may be couples who are together and then discover that the wife has
Oh
been,
yeah.
and then that then leads to divorce. So this ruling, I think, will sharpen
I
up
don't
actually
think
some women, I
I
think.
don't think I don't think it's going to be retroactive. You're not going to go after taking swabs off living children. Be
No, no,
from
no.
certain point
It's from a point. Yeah. This
from a point.
law becomes
Yeah.
law. Will that then encourage some people, right? I'm going to have my fun now before that law comes in, because then after that, it's going to be a challenge. But
Well,
also, by not putting a father's name on the birth certificate, does that mean that the father then has the biological father, because they're not named on the birth certificate, do they have no responsibility for child support for that child because they're not named on the birth certificate?
so when a woman wants to go her own way and she wants to have a child by herself, she deliberately does not put a father's name on the birth certificate. Then, under those circumstances, as far as I understand it, I'm not an American lawyer. As far as I understand it, then no one can be held accountable, and no one is accountable for child support. She made that
Right,
decision on her own.
right, right.
But that has never stopped women from changing their minds, because women do change their minds. And then naming someone, and then a paternity test proves that it is that person. And then that person does become does become liable.
I
So
think
That's
the
happened. There's been a knock
problem,
on the door, and suddenly,
yeah,
and that leads to further divorces, because that person is divorced, is married to someone else.
yeah.
And
Oh
then the knock on
dear,
the door.
yeah, that could have
Yeah.
a knock-on effect, couldn't it?
Yep.
Goodness me. But after the turmoil, there will be a clearly a rebalancing going on while this sort of settles down. If everyone is aware that this law is in place, it will actually curtail infidelity to a degree, because it will certainly encourage people to have protection more so, because they can still have infidelity, but they're going to ensure that there's no chance whatsoever
Mm.
of getting pregnant. So, but the spontaneity element of infidelity, if that occurs, will be almost dropped down to zero, because the consequences would be too great for either party, really. So you'd have thought that they may think twice. And so this law, as far as I can tell, I think it's a good one. I think it's certainly a positive move and will help all sorts of people once the initial turmoil settles down and people know where they're at. But I do agree with you, there could be a few problems to begin with once it's introduced, because you could get knock-on effect divorces, because people have been named on a certificate that they, were just having an extramarital affair, got the person pregnant, and they decided to have the baby, and now they're culpable. But then if they're the father, they've got to be.
Yeah, well, it's not a great deal of fun if you get a knock on the door. This kind of news comes up. It's a lot of explaining to do. Yeah, he has some explaining to do. Now, there's another reason why you said it's a good idea, and I'm saying I'm kind of ambivalent about it. But there is yet another reason why it is a good idea. Although it is rare, it is not so rare that it's absolutely unheard of that babies are accidentally swapped in maternity wards. Uh,
Okay.
People go
Yeah.
off with the wrong baby,
Child.
so it's the wrong child.
Yeah.
So if you're waiting a couple of days and the mother's there and this is definitely your, and then we take the swab and it comes back and say, yeah, not even the mother, or you're not even the father, then it's like, well, where's mine? Where's mine? And at that very early stage, before
So,
years have gone by.
but can I clarify something? Is this test done when the child is born, or is it done only when the child, it could be a few days, could be a week or
I
two.
don't
You
thought it
have
was a week or two.
until, yeah, until the child
Yeah,
is being registered on the birth
that's when
certificate.
you have to do it, don't you? Because to register, well, okay, so I want to register my child. Fine, blah blah blah, papers. Blah, blah, okay, so paternity test. I
Right,
think that's what it'd be. So
right. It's gonna have
that's
to
the
be
name that goes down.
someone's going to make money for
Oh
sure.
yeah, for sure. And the states ultimately, there's going to be
Yeah,
taxes all over the place for this.
yeah, of course.
There's going to be
I can
taxes
see
all
the
over the place.
benefit. I can see the benefit, but yeah, there is an issue there. Now, will this be mandatory? Because I can understand the logic for unmarried couples.
Hmm.
Okay, because to put a father's name on a birth certificate for unmarried couples, both parties have to be present now before this law, obviously, to sign off this birth certificate.
Hmm.
But for married couples, both parties don't have to be present to submit the names on the birth certificate. There's a presumption that the husband and wife are the biological parents of the child.
Hmm.
So, does that mean that this paternity test has to happen also for couples in wedlock already married?
Now I don't know. Now says I don't know. But what is interesting is cuckolded, cuckolded. That's right. Cuckolded husbands are liable for the children anyway. Doesn't matter that they're not biological fathers. You get saddled with the child, so you still have to pay.
Automatically.
It's automatic. It's one of the
Because
worst.
by virtue of being the husband,
It's unbelievable.
see that
That's that's
is,
that's that's a cuckoo thing. She
yeah,
can actually saddle you with somebody else's kid, and there's nothing you can do about it. Even if you divorce her, you still have to pay her child support for someone
that
else's kid. It's
that
incredible.
does depend, however, if in longevity terms, let's say for instance, I don't know, that happens and the child, you've reared that child as if it's your own for several years. And then it's subsequently discovered that you are not the biological father. You've built a bond with that child. The child's built a bond with, in quotes, the father figure, even though they are not biologically related. You have to think for the child here. Now, you're right. The proper biological father should also pay something towards his biological child.
Compensation to the
Yeah,
father, the
there can
husband.
be, but you've got to think for the child here. The child has got an emotional attachment to the so-called father, and he then has built a bond. He would then also feel the same. But then that's no different if you think about it, where couples have got together, where the wife perhaps has already got a child. The the husband is marrying the wife and taking the child under his wing as an adopted child. So he's going to build a bond there. And even, I dare say, you build that relationship. If it were to break down, if you've built relationships separately to the child, it's not the child's fault you've split up with the mother. You've still got that relationship. So yes, I can see it's complicated, but
Mhm.
wouldn't you, as a father figure, want to contribute, even though you may not be obligated to by the state if they've found the real biological father of the child? I don't know.
I was
It's
watching.
complicated.
I was watching one of these shows where they found out that the man was not the girl's father, and he actually broke down in tears in court.
Which you would do. You built
You
a
see, so
relationship believing
that
that's
was his
your
daughter.
child.
So, and she was like 4 or 5, and
Oh,
yeah. So it's not. This is not something that is light or
no.
frivolous or something. These are really deep seated emotions that can be
Well,
affecting.
I have I do have a friend who who believed that the man living in their house for X amount of years was his biological father. And through some twisted fate, discovered quite late on, teenager, but older teenager, discovered that he wasn't his biological father. But his attitude was, I don't care about my biological father. You are my father.
Mm-hmm.
Because he built such a bond with him. He could, doesn't matter if he wasn't. He's my father. I've treated him as my father ever since I was born. That's all I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as I'm concerned, he's my father. And that's how I see it. So the child may want to make the decision if
Right.
it depends. If the biological father knew, this is the key. If the biological father knew what they were doing, they just didn't want to be in a relationship with a child and of the obligations required, then they are, my eyes, my opinion, scum. Okay. But if they didn't know, this is the other problem where a female could have been with a partner, didn't know she got pregnant. They split up shortly after. She then met someone else. They got intimate. Then she genuinely and got pregnant, but wasn't aware because she'd met a new partner and thought it was his. Happy, got married, thinking that the new partner was the biological father when the previous partner didn't know and she didn't know. Then that causes complications because if it's discovered later on, it's harder than if it's discovered at
Straight away.
the beginning, I
Yep.
think. So this is me really in a roundabout way saying that this rule, if it does get passed, is still positive. I'm only seeing a few negatives. It's the vast majority, what I'm seeing, are really, really positive.
Okay. Right. So yeah, we've done the maternity ward baby swapping thing. Then yeah, I think. Well, I don't think you're going to agree with me because of what we've said about the earlier we do it, the better. But as a compromise, I would suggest that we don't do a paternity test until someone is asking for child support.
Oh, I see.
At which point it's mandatory. You can't say no. I don't want the
Okay.
I don't want to give the permission for the child to be swapped.
Consent.
So you say
Right.
no, sorry. You ask if you don't want a paternity test, you can't ask for child support. That simple. If you want child support, you've got to grant and there's got to be paternity test, just so that we know that we are taking money from the right party.
But then that doesn't prevent the scenarios that we've already described at the
Yeah, I
start of the
know. I'm
show.
looking for a compromise here where
I see.
say you're
But
not
then what?
mandatory at childbirth, but
Well, yeah, I get that. I think that's a very good suggestion because as soon as there's finance involved, you want to ensure that it's coming from the right person to support the child. I get that. But it doesn't capture the problem where someone has chosen
mm,
a partner based on their
income.
income or whatever as the father when really they're not. And they
Yeah.
shouldn't be obligated to pay just because the woman feels, in quotes, that he'd be the better father
Better
or
provider.
provider
Better
rather than
mark, if you
father.
like. A
Yeah.
better mark. That's
Yeah.
what
See,
it is a sap.
yeah. So I still think there's a better catch all
There is
if
something to
it's
be
done
said
at the
for
beginning.
the mandatory testing also.
Mm.
Like you said, that I believe probably would exert a downward pressure on reckless infidelity. It's not going to exert a pressure on infidelity,
No, just
but a lot of
reckless
people would just be
infidelity.
like, you know what? We can't what is it called? Commando, Congo Commando, whatever it is, unsheathed. It's gotta be well protected and everything.
I'm
Uh,
surprised that even still happens, unless you got to know somebody, surely. Because
apparently, the rate of STDs in the US is another something else that's also off the scale. It's horrendous.
uh,
So I don't know why anybody would. It's. I
this
mean,
is what you
well,
were saying about hedonistic behavior,
yeah.
because that's exactly what transpires when you engage in this sort of thing without even thinking about the safety net that's available. And it seems incredible to me. But, is there so much?
Conversations that from the videos I watch and the kind of circles that I listen to, the conversation of a woman on TikTok saying, "Well, I don't like this guy much. He left me. He's blocked me. I think he's insecure." That's a word that the American women love when
What's
they're
the
talking
word?
about men. Insecure.
Insecure.
If you ever do anything that a modern American woman doesn't like, it will be because you're insecure. If you don't let her have
Insecure.
her
Not
insecure,
Oh, insecure. Okay.
if you're not letting her go out and party with her friends, you're insecure. If whatever, whatever you do, but it's all insecurity. And this one was saying, "Oh, he's blocked me. He's so insecure." So we got back. We've been very close together. We're getting much, much closer. And this was going to be the night when it all happened. And then I just explained to him that I have this cold spot. And he said, "What's a cold spot?" He'd never heard of it before. And I said, "What's this?" You know? And all he heard was herpes.
Yeah,
And he
herpes. Yeah.
and he just shut.
Well,
And
the cold sore is
she was trying to
herpes.
explain that, "Oh yeah, I'm not infectious now," and blah blah blah. And apparently this guy just couldn't wait to just leg it, man. He just legged it. It's like, and I'm thinking to myself, I'd have legged it. It's like, sorry, I don't want any long complicated thing, but you're not transmissible or blah blah.
Oh no.
It's herpes, right?
Yeah.
I don't know where you got it from, but I know where I'm not going to get it from.
Not worth it.
Hey, look, no thanks. Got to jog on,
It-
sis.
there. I mean, the my understanding though of that, to be fair, is if you get a cold sore,
Hmm.
it is herpes. Um, it is the herpes simplex bug or whatever it is. But if you get it there, you're less likely to get it in your genitalia. That's my understanding. I'm not a doctor, mind you, but I heard that once. I'd have to verify it, obviously, because you brought it up. But if you get a cold sore, you're less likely to have the symptoms below. It's almost like the bug or whatever it is that you get is because you can get a cold sore without having intercourse. It just means that your body will not contract, contract it down in your genitalia. It manifests itself.
I thought a cold sore was a cold sore because you had a flipping cold.
It's part of that, but it also has something to do with the herpes simplex virus. Yeah, because it is a virus.
Really?
Mhm. But
I've seen people. I'm trying to remember who the hell did I see the flipping cold. I ain't take it seriously. Now you got me thinking to myself, "Hey, hang on a minute. Did I drink a coffee with those people or what?"
no.
Huh?
It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way.
No, you can't
Oh,
catch a cold sore from someone else.
okay. Well, that's good. Because I'm like, huh? Who did I see with the cold sore?
It's bodily fluids.
Yeah, okay, yeah, okay. So it was a guy. So there's absolutely what's it a guy or a girl or something? I don't know.
I believe that is it. I mean, like I said, I could be completely wrong. I could be talking out.
Yeah, well, I'm going to look into it now myself. But anyway,
Yeah.
this was donkeys years ago, and I
Mm.
haven't had any symptoms, so I assume it was fine. We're drinking from the same cup anyway.
No, you don't get it from there, so that's fine.
Oh, okay.
But I
Or
mean,
toilet
going
seats or
back going
anything.
back to our topic here,
Mm.
the I'm still trying to think of any real negatives of.
No, I think you convinced me. I think I came in more. What's the word I'm looking for here? More ambivalent about it. But I think in talking to you and it's airing the pros and cons. I think I'm siding that there are more pros than there are cons. And if you don't have a very, very nasty dog in the fight, i.e., you're trying to protect people from fraudulent behavior, I don't see why you would have any beef with this whatsoever.
Indeed, indeed. I mean, because obviously there's examples of paternity fraud.
Definitely.
I mean, in many, many cases, we've already touched on what would happen where the mother falsely identifies a man as the
Mm.
biological father and just to exploit and benefit from his income as opposed to the biological father. But there's also examples of, isn't there the no fault divorces?
Well, that's coming up for review. They want to undo that. And
I'm glad they do because
even
that needs
even
to
the UK,
change.
I think,
Yeah,
is talking about undoing it.
awful, awful. How can you have a no fault divorce?
Well, I don't know if you understand it because a lot of people seem not to understand it.
Okay,
A no-fault divorce is meant to be when both parties agree that they just want to go their separate ways.
okay. But
That's
that's good
that's
if you've got no other commitments, no kids, that
even
makes sense.
whatsoever it is. But what is happening is, as you know, about 70 to 80% of divorces are initiated by the woman, and family court helps her do what we call in our manosphere financially rape the guy. Take the house,
Yeah.
keep the kids, get this alimony, get child support and all this, and have a fantastic lifestyle, which the man has to pay for. And the divorce was no fault of his. So what they're doing now is the no fault divorce thing is that can only happen if the man agrees, and obviously he's not going to agree, or one of them was caught cheating. So if you catch your man cheating, you can get your divorce and get the alimony, get the house, get everything.
Right.
So actually, it just stops frivolous divorces, if you like,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just some woman gets fed up and just says, oh, I want out. It's like, well, you can't have out because, or you can walk away, but
No, you can't take everything.
you're
Why?
not going to take
Yeah,
everything.
see, that's wrong where somebody wants to do that and yeah, and still get to keep all the benefits of the relationship, which is
Precisely.
totally incorrect.
Precisely. So that's what it's going to be. But if the man agrees and the woman agrees, probably sit down with the lawyer and say, well, obviously I'm not going to get the house and the kid. This is what I'm going to prepare to give you. Sort everything out. Come to an agreement. Take that to the judge. Judge says, are you sure? Yeah. Okay. Stamp. Bam. Okay. You're divorced. Otherwise, the guy says, well, you didn't catch me out. I haven't cheated. You haven't caught me out. I'm sorry. I'm not going to give you a divorce.
Mm, interesting. That reminds me of, we're mindful of we get to the top of the hour. That reminds me, I saw this story of a father going into a toy store to buy his daughter a Barbie doll. And this was in America. And he went in a store and he said, oh, I'd like to buy a Barbie doll. And the salesperson said, oh, there's many to choose from. And he said, oh, okay. And she said, yeah, this one is Barbie, and she's 1999. This is Ken, 1999. You've got Barbie on the beach, 1999. You've got Barbie as a rock star, 1999. You've got Barbie as a rock climber, 1999, and so forth. And she went through this whole list. And then she said, and finally, we've got divorced Barbie, who's $350. And the guy was like, okay, these are all 1999. Why is divorce Barbie $350? And the salesperson said, yeah, because divorce Barbie comes with Ken's car, Ken's house,
Yeah.
Ken's golf stuff, everything.
Everything.
Yeah, you
Yes,
probably heard that one before, but I
no,
thought it
no,
was
no.
nice and
I could,
appropriate for
I
this.
could, I could, I could, I could see
You
it
could see
coming
where
there.
that was coming.
Yeah. There's a video. I'm going to try to chop it. It's part of a greater video. So there is some chopping, and I don't know how we're going to present it to our audience. Probably put it on TNT Talkers.
Okay.
And there's this very tired gentleman, balding, quite rotund, sitting in his car, he really sounds like he's not that far away from,
Oh
meet you up
no.
with the
Okay.
Grim Reaper. And he's there and he's saying, I've just come out of hospital. I've had my kidney transplant. And yeah, so, my brother had needs a kidney. I went, but they said mine weren't good enough. So we checked, with other male family members. So my two sons said, yeah, we'll chip in if necessary. And then it turns out that neither one is my son. He said, yes, 22 and 19 or something. And I said, and I've been with them and I brought them up and this and that. And well, I'm a lawyer. When I get to them, I'll start drawing up the papers because obviously this is going to be a divorce. He said, well, and remember, he's very tired and everything. He said, well, I suppose, I suppose the only good thing I can see at this point is that it's ever so good to know that those feckless idiots have nothing to do with me. It must have taken after their father. And he's dead
Oh
serious.
dear.
And then that's the end of the video. So the feckless idiots have nothing to do with me.
Oh dear
It's the
me.
only good to come out of this. So maybe you've been wondering, you sure you're my idiot?
Okay.
Well,
We're at the top of the hour, so I want you to sort of sum up. Do you think a mandatory paternity test is a good idea?
I think it is. I think it's very expensive, 200 per pop, $200 per pop. Sounds quite exorbitant to me. Probably likely to rise over a period of time. So that's my concern. But if it's affordable, I mean, like the NHS, for instance, here, if they have to shell out that kind of money, I'm sure that's going to be a burden. So that's another concern is the cost. But if we can handle the cost, I don't see why we shouldn't do it, to be honest.
Indeed, I feel the same. But unfortunately, we
Mhm.
have reached the end of the show for another week.